Hotels are meant to be safe, places to rest behind a locked door, but sometimes danger finds its way inside. Tonight's stories reveal how quickly a normal stay can turn into a nightmare. A strange midnight phone call, a man stalking a child through a resort, and a traveller facing an intruder at his door. 3 nights, 3 close calls, and each could have ended much worse. When I was 18 and in my senior year of high school, I played softball for our school's team. That year, we were actually really good enough to be invited to an invitational tournament in Las Vegas. It was a big deal for us. Most of us had never traveled that far for a game before. We arrived late in the evening and checked into a hotel about 15 minutes from the city. It wasn't fancy, but it was nice enough. Once we got there, everyone split into smaller groups to share rooms. I roomed with 3 of my closest friends, and after unpacking and showering, we decided to call it a night. Our first game was early the next morning, so we wanted to rest. Around 10 p.m, the room was quiet. I was half asleep when the hotel phone suddenly rang. The sound startled us. None of us had ever heard a hotel phone ring before. We stared at it for a moment, confused, before I reached over and answered. "Hello?" I said. A man's voice came through, low, almost whispering. He said there was a problem with our room payment, and that one of us needed to come down to the lobby immediately to fix it. Instantly, alarm bells went off in my head. I'd watched our coach pay for all the rooms less than 2 hours earlier. Why would the hotel call us directly about something like that, and so late at night? Trying to stay calm, I told the man our coach had already paid, but he ignored me and repeated that one of us needed to come down. Just one, he emphasized. Then his tone changed. He said if we didn't, there would be consequences. The way he said it made my stomach twist. There was something menacing about his voice. I wasn't about to let anyone leave the room. I told him we weren't going anywhere and hung up. The room went silent. My friends looked at me nervously, waiting for an explanation. When I told them what the man had said, they were as freaked out as I was. We knew there was no way the front desk would call about something like that this late. It just didn't make sense. We locked the door, latched the chain, and pushed a suitcase against it. Everyone was tense, but after a while we tried to sleep. About an hour later, the phone rang again. None of us moved. It rang 3 times, then stopped. About 30 minutes later, it rang once more. Each time, the silence afterward felt heavier. We barely slept that night. Every sound in the hallway made us jump. I remember staring at the thin strip of light under the door, terrified I might see someone's shadow. But no one came. When morning finally came, we were relieved but exhausted. We met our coach for breakfast and told him everything. He immediately went to the front desk to ask if there had been any issue with the payment. The staff looked confused. They said the room was fully paid for and no one from the hotel had called us. They even insisted that employees would never contact guests that late at night. Our coach asked them to check the security cameras, and they said they would, but we never heard anything else after that. Nothing strange happened for the rest of our stay, but the unease never fully went away. Every time the phone rang, we all froze. Even years later, I still think about that night. Who called us? How did they know what room we were in? And what would have happened if one of us had actually gone down there? The more I think about it, the more certain I am that it wasn't anyone from the hotel. Whoever that man was, he had another plan. I'm just grateful we trusted our instincts and stayed in our room that night, because something tells me that if we hadn't, this story might have ended very differently. When I was 14, my family took a trip to a ski resort in Colorado. I'm the oldest of 4 kids. I have an older brother, a younger brother, and a little sister who was 7 at the time. We all got along really well, and that trip was something we had been looking forward to for months. The resort was beautiful, buried in snow, with the mountains glowing orange from the sunset each evening. On our second night there, after spending the day skiing and exploring, my siblings and I decided to relax in the hotel's sauna. It was connected to the indoor pool area, and since it was already late, hardly anyone else was around. The 4 of us sat inside, joking and talking, enjoying the warmth after hours in the cold. We must have been in there for about 30 minutes when my older brother mentioned that he was getting hungry. He suggested one of us go up to our room to grab snacks for everyone. Without thinking twice, we told our little sister to do it. Looking back, that was a terrible decision. I don't know what we were thinking sending a 7-year-old to walk through a nearly empty hotel by herself. She left, and for a minute everything was quiet, but only a couple minutes later we heard rapid footsteps echoing down the hall. Then the sauna door swung open, and our sister came running inside, completely out of breath and visibly terrified. She blurted out that some creepy man had been following her. At first, we thought maybe she was exaggerating, until we looked through the sauna's small glass window. There, out in the pool area, was a man I had never seen before. He was pacing slowly around the pool deck, glancing toward the sauna every few seconds. I'll never forget what he looked like. He was clearly an older man, hunched slightly as he walked, and he was wearing several layers of heavy winter clothing. It immediately struck me as strange. No one dressed like that would be in a pool area unless they weren't supposed to be there. My brothers and I stared in silence, trying to figure out what to do. The air felt thick, heavy with tension. Then, to our horror, the man started moving toward the sauna. The sauna had a one-way tinted window, so he couldn't see inside. That meant he probably thought my sister was alone. We watched as he walked right up to the door and slowly opened it, but the second he saw the 4 of us sitting inside, he froze. For a long moment, no one said a word. He just stood there in the doorway, his eyes darting between us. Then, without saying anything, he quietly shut the door, turned, and walked away. First through the pool exit, and then out of the building altogether. We stayed there for a while, shaken and unsure of what to do. Eventually, we gathered our things and went straight back to our hotel room. When we got there, we told our parents everything. They were horrified, especially at us for letting our sister go alone, but more than anything, they were relieved she was safe. Our dad immediately went down to the front desk to report what had happened. The hotel staff seemed alarmed and said they would review the security footage to try to identify the man. They assured us that no one who fit that description was staying at the resort. Hearing that only made the whole situation feel worse. That night, none of us slept very well. Every sound in the hallway made us flinch, and I remember lying in bed, replaying everything in my head, how easily things could have gone differently. What if she hadn't run straight back to us? What if he had caught her before she reached the sauna? Even now, I still think about it sometimes. The guilt of sending her alone still lingers, even though she wasn't hurt. There's no doubt in my mind that whoever that man was, he wasn't one of the hotel's guests. He was someone who wandered in off the street, someone with bad intentions. I'll never forget the look on his face when he opened that door and realized my sister wasn't alone. It's terrifying to think what he might have planned if she had been. It was a Friday, and I was on a business trip, staying at a hotel in a part of town I wouldn't walk around at night. My evening meeting ran late, and when I finally got back to my room, I knew I needed to sleep. An early meeting waited the next morning. I wasn't exhausted, but I lay down and tried. After an hour of tossing and turning, I put on a podcast to help me drift off. Eventually, I started to doze, but 3 hours later, I woke to a faint knocking. I checked the clock. 2 a.m. I took off my headphones, and the sound grew clearer, not in the ceiling, not from another room, but from my own door. At first I thought it was someone in the hallway, but then I realized the doorknob was moving. I dressed quickly, crossed the room, and watched through the peephole as a hand worked the lock, and the knob turned. Whoever was outside seemed to be trying to pick or manipulate the mechanism. I felt my heart race. I keep a pistol in my suitcase for travel. I grabbed it, chambered around, and returned to the door. As I approached, the lock twisted and the latch began to slip. I raised the gun and held it steady, every muscle tight and ready. The door opened just a crack before a hotel-style security latch, one of those swing bolts, caught and stopped it. Relief slammed into me. That bolt probably saved me from an immediate life-or-death confrontation. But the man didn't give up. Through the thin gap, I could see a hand reach in, fingers trying to disengage the latch from the inside. I couldn't tell much else, only that the hand moved with purpose. I shouted that I had a gun. The hand withdrew instantly, and I heard footsteps pounding away down the corridor. For a long time I stayed frozen, keeping the gun trained on the door until I was sure he was gone. After the noise faded, I waited a while longer, then locked everything, barricaded what I could, and called the front desk. I debated calling the police immediately, but worried the intruder would be long gone before officers could arrive. The next morning, I went down to report the incident. To my surprise, the lobby was crawling with police. The clerk told me they'd been tracking a prisoner who had escaped custody and was going room to room that night, picking locks and robbing guests at knife point. Apparently, he'd been trying doors all along the corridor. I felt a cold mixture of shock and gratitude. If the latch had failed, if he'd pushed the door fully open, I might be writing a very different story. After the police left, I replayed the night over and over. Small sounds became huge in my memory: the soft click of the latch, the scrape of the hand through the crack, the silence that followed the retreating footsteps. They asked if I wanted to come home. I said no, but I didn't sleep much that week. I switched rooms, kept lights on, watching the hallway like it could hold the answer. Since then, I've changed how I travel. I bought a compact door jammer and started checking locks the moment I enter a room. It feels trivial until you realize how thin the line was between ordinary and violent. The clerk at the desk later told me police were tracing an escaped prisoner who had been trying doors that night, moving down corridors, and robbing whoever opened. Whether they caught him remains unclear. People treat fear like a movie. What happened to me was quieter, a cold, focused readiness and a decision to act. I'm not proud of the fear, but I'm grateful for the preparedness. That night taught me to respect small safety measures and to never assume inconvenience is more important than caution now.